Shanta
Rupeshu
Rupeshu
Itarai
Uttarai
Swarupai
Swarupai
Abhyardyamaneshu Anukampita Atma Paravara Ishaha Mahat Amshayuktaha Hi Ajaha Api Jataha Bhagavan Yata Abhyardyamaneshanukampitatma Paravaresho Mahad Amshayukto Yajopi Jato Bhagavan Yatagnihi Swashanta Rupe Shvitarai Swaruper Abhyardyamane Shrianukampitatma Paravaresho Mahad Amshayukto Yajopi Jato Bhagavan Yatagnihi
Shanta Rupesh Vitarai Swarupai
Swashanta Rupe Shvitarai Swaruper
Abhyardyamanesh Anukampitatma
Abhyardyamane Shvanukampitatma
Parapareshu Maharang Sayukto
Paraparesho Mahadam Shayukto
Jopi Jato Bhagavan Yatagni
Yajopi Jato Bhagavan Yatagni
Swashanta Rupesh Vitarai Swarupai Abhyardyamane Svanukampitatma
Shvanukampitatma
Paravaresho Mahadangsha Yukto
Paresho Mahadam Shayukto
Yajopi Jato Bhagavan Yatagni
Yajopi Jato Bhagavan Yatagni
Swashantarupe Shitarai Swarupai
Shantarupe Shvitarai Swaruper
Abhyardyamane Surakampitatma
Abhyardyamane Shvanukampitatma
Paraparesho Maharam Sayukto
Paravaresho Mahad Amshayukto
Jato Bhagavan Yatagni
Yajopi Jato Bhagavan Yatagnihi
Swashantarupe Shvitarai Swarupai
Shantarupe Shvitarai Swaruper
Abhyardyamane Shvanukampitatma
Shvanukampitatma
Ravaresho Maharangsa Yukto
Paravaresho Mahad Amshayukto
Yajo Pijato Bhagavan Yatagni
Bhagavan Yatagni
Swashantarupesh Vitarai Swaruper
Shvitarai Swaruper
Abhyardyamanesh Vanukampita Atma
Abhyardyamane Shvanukampitatma
Paravaresho Maharamsha Yukto
Vesho Mahadam Shayukto
Hyajo Pijato Bhagavanyatagnahi.
Yajo Pijato Bhagavan Yatagni Swashanta Rupeshu unto the peaceful devotees of the Lord. Itarai, others, non-devotees, Swarupai, according to their own modes of nature. Abhyardyamaneshu, being harassed by. Anukampita Atma, the all-compassionate Lord. Para Avara, spiritual and material. Ishaha, controller. Mahat Amsha Yuktaha, accompanied by the plenary portion of Mahat Tattva. He, certainly. Ajaha, the unborn. Api, although. Jataha, is born. Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. Yata, as if. Agnihi, the fire. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The personality of Godhead, the all-compassionate controller of both spiritual and material creations, is unborn. But when there is friction between His peaceful devotees and persons who are in the material modes of nature, He takes birth just like fire, accompanied by the Mahat Tattva. Purport. The devotees of the Lord are by nature peaceful, because they have no material hankering. A liberated soul has no hankering, and therefore he has no lamentation. One who wants to possess also laments when he loses his possession. Devotees have no hankerings for material possessions and no hankerings for spiritual salvation. They are situated in the transcendental loving service of the Lord as a matter of duty, and they do not mind where they are or how they have to act. Karmis, Gyanis, and Yogis all hanker to possess some material or spiritual assets. Karmis want material possessions. Gyanis and Yogis want spiritual possessions. But devotees do not want any material or spiritual assets. They want only to serve the Lord anywhere in the material or spiritual worlds that the Lord desires. And the Lord is always specifically compassionate towards such devotees. The Karmis, Gyanis, and Yogis have their particular mentalities in the modes of nature, and therefore they are called Ittara, or non-devotees. These Ittaras, including even the Yogis, sometimes harass the devotees of the Lord. Durvasa Muni, a great yogi, harassed Maharaj Ambarish, because the latter was a great devotee of the Lord. And the great Karmi and Gyani, Hiranyakashipu, even harassed his own Vaishnava son, Prahlad Maharaj. There are many instances of such harassment of the peaceful devotees of the Lord by the Ittaras. When such friction takes place, the Lord, out of His great compassion toward His pure devotees, appears in person, accompanied by His plenary portions, controlling the Mahat Tattva. The Lord is everywhere, in both the material and spiritual domains, and He appears for the sake of His devotees when there is friction between His devotee and the non-devotee. As electricity is generated by friction of matter anywhere and everywhere, the Lord, being all-pervading, appears because of the friction of devotees and non-devotees. When Lord Krishna appears on a mission, all His plenary portions accompany Him. When He appears as the son of Vasudeva, there were differences of opinion about His incarnation. Some said, He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Some said, He is an incarnation of Narayana. And others said, He is the incarnation of Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. But actually, He is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. And Narayan, the Purushas, and all other incarnations accompany Him to function as parts of His pastimes. Mahad Amsha Yuktaha indicates that he is accompanied by the Purushas who create the Mahat Tattva. It is confirmed in the Vedic hymns, Mahantam Vibhum Atmanam. Lord Krishna appeared just like electricity, where there was friction between Kamsa and Vasudeva and Ugrasena. Vasudeva and Ugrasena were the Lord's devotees, and Kamsa, a representative of the Karmis and Gyanis, was a non-devotee. Krishna, as He is compared to the sun. He first appeared from the ocean of the womb of Devaki, and gradually He satisfied the inhabitants of the places surrounding Mathura, just as the sun enlivens the lotus flower in the morning. After gradually rising to the meridian of Dwarka, The Lord set like the sun, placing everything in darkness, as described by Uddhava. Maharaj, would you like to speak on this?
So Chaitanya Charitamrita says that Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami Akale Ashanta Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Ata Eva Shanta. The Karmis and the Gyanis and the Yogis are not peaceful. They're not satisfied because they have desires to enjoy the material world. And therefore, they're never peaceful because they never have as much enjoyment as they would like to have. But the devotees, they have no material desires. So there's nothing to hanker for. Nadanam najanam sundaram kavitamba jagadishi kamai mama janmani janmani shre avatad bhaktiro hoi tukur vai. The devotees are not interested in the delights of the material world. It's like in the heavenly planets, they have beautiful women and long lifespans. They take delicious intoxicants and they enjoy mystic powers, enjoy controlling others. But the devotees are not interested in any of these things. They don't care to go even to the heavenly planets. They're not even desiring to have Indra's kingdom. Indra often becomes jealous when he sees someone practicing yoga. He sees someone performing some austerities. He wants to know what's his goal, what's his meditation. And sometimes these persons meditate or they perform some austerities to get powers, take over Indra's position. So he's very worried. And he steals the horse. They're performing too many horse sacrifices. Or he'll steal away the mind of the yogis by sending beautiful apsaras who know how to bewilder the mind of any man. But the devotees, they can't allure because, like, for example, Haridas Thakur, he was tempted by the most beautiful women, all attractive features. It was a perfect opportunity for him to enjoy his senses. But he wasn't interested. He was more absorbed in chanting than take time off and have sense gratification. This is mystical. It's difficult to understand. Non-devotees, they can't understand it. They think they've gone crazy. The devotees must have gone crazy because how can they give up all these nice pleasures, temporary pleasures? But that's the point. It's temporary. And the devotees are very intelligent. They're not interested in some temporary satisfaction. They think, what is this pleasure for a few seconds, few minutes, or a few hours, or a few days, or a few millions of lifetimes? It's still temporary. Why not get the pleasure that goes on? Then they get the pleasure that's unlimited and is much greater. The pleasure that is derived from devotional service in Bhakti Yoga is far greater than the pleasure that is achieved by the karmis, gyanis, and yogis. And the proof is that the pure devotees are not interested in those things. Whereas all the others are very interested in temporary sense gratification. This is the greatness of the devotees. He has no hankering, no lamenting. Even if a devotee loses his opulent position, doesn't mind. He's satisfied, as described here in this verse, or the purport. Narayana para sarvena kutashina bibhiti varga pavarga apituya tatarshana. A devotee is equal, whether he goes to heaven or hell. Because if there's service in hell that he can perform for the Lord, then it becomes better than heaven, the most blissful place. And if there's some very attractive place in the material world, but there's no service to Vishnu or Krishna, then it's hell. He doesn't want to be there. So this is difficult for the non-devotees to understand. But as soon as one takes the devotional service, he begins to understand this and increases.
Does anybody have any questions? Radha Damodar Prabhu has a question.
Purport Srila Prabhupada says that Krishna comes from the ocean of the womb of Devaki. I was wondering if is that just poetry, or does that have any like significance?
As far as I understood, he was describing how the just like the sun. It's an analogy for the sun, because Krishna's never gone, but just like the sun, we know the sun, it never leaves. It's not, oh, the sun died or something like this, or it's not that it's born in the morning. We know it's always there, but we see it rise from the ocean. Well, if you're living on the coast, you see it rise from the ocean and then set later. So like that, Krishna is going from one material universe to he's always in the spiritual world, and he's always in Vrindavan. But here in the material world, when he comes to enact his pastimes, in one sense, he's not in the material world at all, because he's Satchit Ananda. He maintains his eternal spiritual form when he comes. He's not under the modes of nature or any rules of this world. But when he comes here, just like if the president comes in the jail and he's walking through to give some inspiration or something for the prisoners to correct themselves, it's not got him, they got president such and such, but actually one who knows that actually he's still in control. So when Krishna comes to the material world like that, it's just like the sun rising, and he enacts his pastimes, and then when he finishes up his pastimes, it's just like the sun setting, and at the same time it's rising in another place. So in the next universe, enacting his pastimes and inviting all the conditioned souls to come out of this darkness and back to the spiritual world, which is self-illumined. That's in the Brahma Samhita, that explains how all the planets in the spiritual world are full of the effulgence that's emanating from Krishna's body. And therefore the sky is blue. It's because it's the color of Krishna or Vishnu. So the devotees by nature are peaceful because they have no material hankering. But we see in the Bhagavad Gita, the mindset of the materialists, which is just the opposite. Idam adya maya labham imam prapsye manoratam idam astidam apime bhavishyati punardanam asomaya hata shatur han yase han anishe chaparanapi ishvaro ham aham bogi siddho ham balavan sukhi. That the demoniac person thinks, so much wealth do I have today, and I will gain more according to my schemes. So much is mine now, and it will increase in the future more and more. He is my enemy, and I have killed him, and my other enemies will also be killed. I am the Lord of everything. I am the enjoyer. I am perfect, powerful, and happy. I am the richest man surrounded by aristocratic relatives. There is none so powerful and happy as I am. I shall perform sacrifices, I shall give some charity, and thus I shall rejoice. In this way, such persons are deluded by ignorance. So Krishna describes the mindset of the materialistic demons in Bhagavad Gita, and we see it's just the opposite. There can't be any peace in such a mindset because you're always hankering if in that state. The demoniac person, he's thinking, I'll get more according to my schemes. I'll increase, I'll kill my other enemies. I am perfect, I'm powerful. So then what happens when he loses something? Or when his enemies win? Or when he's not powerful and happy? When he's sad or sick? Then always lamenting, always miserable. But the devotee is just the opposite. And so Krishna gives some more insight into this in the Bhagavad Gita, where he explains that one who rejects God's instructions, who doesn't act according to the scriptures, for him there's no peacefulness, no happiness, and there's no perfection of, they don't reach the ultimate goal. So this is the state for the materialistic persons, or as we were hearing, the itaras, the non-devotees. There's no chance of being peaceful if you have to compete with God. Because in the material world, the conditioned living entities are here trying to be the enjoyer. But actually that's Krishna. He's Bhoktaram Yagyatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suhridam Sarvabhutanam Gyatvam Mam Shantam Richati. That's the peace formula. This is how everyone can have peace all over the world, is to accept that God, the supreme controller, Krishna, he is the supreme enjoyer, the supreme proprietor, and the supreme friend of all living entities. But when the tiny living entities who are not God, they're not all powerful, they're small. When they want to try to be God, then there's only the opposite of peace. There's only anxiety and quarrels and wars and all of these things. Because one person's saying, I'm the proprietor, and then the other country comes in and they say, actually, we're the proprietor. So we'll go to war with you to help you give us back the oil that is rightfully ours in your country, because we're the proprietor. Or someone saying, I'm the enjoyer. And so then they see someone else is happy or enjoying, and then they say, give me that, or let me cut this person down. And then the supreme friend. So Krishna is the real friend of all living entities. We might think, like I remember someone was here, we bring people, new guests to meet Maharaj during the Sunday feasts. And one time one guest was coming and he was wanting to make a lot of money. He was saying, I want to get like tons and tons of money, be like a millionaire or something. And then I want to distribute it to like all the people, to help the people. And he was asking about that, like, how can I get more resources so I can distribute them to help the people? So that's actually Krishna's position. He's the supreme friend of all living entities, and he's maintaining all of them, even if they're inimical to him or forgetful of him. All living entities all over the entire creation are maintained by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What's that one? The Nitya Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam Eko Bahunam Yo Vidadati Kama. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is he's eternal, and all the minute living entities are also eternal, but the difference is that he's the maintainer of all of them. He's maintaining them. So everywhere we see in the world, there's elephants that eat tons and tons of food. There's many people all over the world who also eat lots of food. There's all sorts of living entities that are subsisting and existing in this world. And how is that? Because the Supreme Lord is arranging for them to live. So he's maintaining all living entities. In that way, he's compassionate on all living entities. But he's even more compassionate to his devotees. Because they, and this is the purport, they want only to serve the Lord anywhere in the material and spiritual worlds that the Lord desires. And the Lord is always specifically compassionate towards such devotees. So Krishna, he's Bhakta Vatsala. He's the Vatsala means, just like we hear about the Vatsalya relationships that the devotees have in the spiritual world with Krishna, like his parents, Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj. They have this Vatsalya. So Vatsala means like to protect, like a protector. So he's the protector or the well-wisher or supremely compassionate to his devotees, the bhaktas. He's Bhakta Vatsala. But one reason that he's Bhakta Vatsala, I was hearing this in a Vishnu Sahasranam lecture. One reason he's Bhakta Vatsala is to protect all the living entities. Because he's so compassionate on all living entities, he specifically favors his devotees. Because if the devotees are nicely maintained or flourishing throughout the world, then the whole world then all living entities are benefited. Just like we see with the battle of Kurukshetra, who is in charge beforehand? There's Duryodhana and company, and they're all demoniac, causing so many problems. But if the devotees are in charge, the thing is that the devotees are focusing on God and how to serve him. And so if all of society is looking up then to those persons who are looking up to God, then naturally all of society becomes godly and focuses on service to Krishna. So the whole battle of Kurukshetra was arranged so that Maharaj Yudhishthir, a great pure devotee of the Lord, and the Pandavas could be at the head of, they could be ruling as the kings. And in this way, the whole world becomes prosperous because the devotees are looking over everything and the society is looking up to them, and naturally everyone is protected. There's no selfishness and harming others, trying to be the enjoyer and all these things. So like this, Krishna, he's Bhakta Vatsala because he's protecting all living entities. And by specifically favoring, this is just one reason, by specifically favoring the devotees, all living entities become benefited. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, Maternath Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. So, Prabhupada mentions in the purport how the Jnanis and the yogis, they can never be peaceful or satisfied because they still have material desires or spiritual desires.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering, it seems that the bhakta has spiritual desires. I was reading last night in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada was talking about how if somebody becomes, he said like a restless person can never attain love of God. But I was thinking in relation to this, like, what if the bhakta is developing a bunch of, desires to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead? It seems like very elevated devotees, like that we hear about, like Mother Sachi, or like she has never-ending desires to serve her son, and she's never externally maybe seeming like she's at peace, but she's so peaceful knowing that she has her son. Like that's her peace. It's like a different peace that's derived. So I'm just wondering, like, is it due to our like imperfect idea of what peace is, also that we think maybe we can never have peace? Because the bhakta, like I'm thinking now, I seemingly might have more desires to do things for Krishna, because it's like for Krishna. Like I'm always thinking, okay, what can I do for Krishna next? Today, right now, and
Those are good.
there's peace in that, but
Yeah.
it's like it's restless in nature. And I was hearing Prabhupada say like a restless person can't ever.
Well, that's fine because that's spiritual. A restless materialist that won't work. But someone who's restless for Krishna, that's perfect. If they're always thinking, well, how can I do more for Krishna? How can I serve Krishna better? How can I please his devotees? Like this, that's perfect. Those are spiritual desires. So it's not that we want to stop everything and make it zero, but we just change the current. Right now it's going to the wrong, well, not right now for you, but for the conditioned living entities in the material world. It's going to the wrong direction. The current's on cold in the wintertime, and we want to turn it to the hot. So like that, sorry, that was just a random analogy, but the point is we're serving, the conditioned living entities are serving matter and trying to serve their senses, but they should serve Krishna. So if they do whatever it is for Krishna, then that's good. If they're hankering and lamenting for Krishna's sake, actually, then that's perfect. Just like Mother Yashoda is cooking so many preparations for Krishna. No one can eat as much as Krishna. Maybe one time somebody can eat like the meal that Krishna eats, but every day, multiple times throughout the day, Krishna and his friends are eating these amazing meals. So she's cooking like this. Srimati Radharani is cooking like this. Also, all of these amazing meals and preparations for Krishna. So you could say they're restless, but that type of restlessness is perfect. They're always engaged in serving Krishna to the topmost degree, and in this way, they're pleasing Krishna. So it's the perfection of life. So like Srila Prabhupada said, if we rack our brains on how to spread this Krishna consciousness movement, that's perfect. It's a spiritual restlessness. So I just wanted to read this at the end of the class. Yesterday, I guess depending on what part of the world you're in, so maybe today also in some place, but yesterday was the appearance day of Shamananda Prabhu. So this book about Rasikananda, there's a chapter in it called The Glories of Shamananda. So I can read from there. All glories to Shamananda, the abode of all good qualities, and expert in all affairs. You are the life of the materially impoverished. O Shamananda Prabhu, please appear in my heart and allow me to sing your glories. Everyone please hear with enthusiasm my description of Shamananda's appearance in this world. Because Rasika Shekhara is the Lord of my life, I have no fear of public opinion. Rasika Murari, I cannot live without singing your glories. You have made me a madman. I desire to spread your fame, and gentle pundits should not find fault with me. Your glories cannot be covered any more than the glow of the moon can be covered by the palm of a hand. Truly they declare their own glories. Pure love of God manifested by you has no equal in this world, either in the past or in the future. Shamananda was known as the life of Rasika. By rendering devotional service to Shamananda, Rasika became famous as a giver of devotion. The Lord happily resides in the hearts of his devotees. Through them, he distributes love of God in every yuga and frees everyone from the misery of material existence. Shamananda, a dear servitor of the Lord, took birth in a village of Utkala at a time when people were determined to commit sins. This is the story of how they were delivered by Shamananda and his favorite disciple, Rasikendra Chandra. I shall narrate how the two of them conquered the land of Utkala, describe their holy appearance and how they traveled to different holy places with a renounced mind. I will give an account of their first meeting as well as their many pastimes of bestowing devotional service upon the people of Utkala. I will describe how they delivered everyone, including the outcasts, with their united preaching exploits. I shall write about these amazing events while praying that the sober scholars among you may not criticize me. First, let me describe the mystery of Shamananda's birth, at an event that is highly honored by all Shamanandi Vaishnavas. I will also give a brief description of his renunciation and subsequent travels to many holy places. Sri Krishna Mandala Mahashaya hailed from a Gopa family of Bengal, but he migrated to Utkala. He built his house in a very pious village named Dandeshwara. His wife Darika was a devoted lady famous for her peacefulness, sobriety, and forbearance. Both of them were celebrated in society as protectors of Brahminical culture, well versed in all religious duties, and extremely pure-hearted. Shamananda Rai took his birth in this family and remained with his parents for some time. On reaching youth, he married, but after only a brief period of married life, he became absorbed in love of Krishna. Due to his feelings of renunciation, he could no longer maintain interest in household affairs. Tears from his eyes washed his whole body. He forgot himself in the ecstasy of Krishna consciousness and simply cried day and night while saying, Krishna, Krishna. He looked down on the happiness of household life and considered it poison. He did not care for anything that had no connection to Lord Krishna. He tried to leave his home, but his relatives did not permit him. Overwhelmed by attraction for the Lord, he begged them, please allow me to travel to holy places. I yearn after visiting Vrajapuri, Lord Krishna's own abode. Remembering it, I hardly remain alive. Please do not try to restrain me. I will certainly visit all the holy tirthas and circumambulate the earth. Hearing Shamananda's words, his family became greatly perturbed. They tried to stop him in various ways, but were not successful. How could a sand dam control the waves of the ocean? No one was able to break Shamananda's detachment. He entrusted all the family affairs to his younger brother Balaram Mahashaya, a pure-hearted, calm and quiet person. Thus freed, he left his home. Balaram stayed at home only briefly, tormented by his affection for Shamananda. He then left home as well and wandered about searching for his elder brother. In the meantime, Shamananda Prabhu commenced his pilgrimage by seeing the deities of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sri Nityananda Prabhu at Ambika Kalna. After a very blissful darshan, he went to offer obeisance at the lotus feet of Hridayananda. Falling on the ground like a stick, Shamananda offered prayers to him while the devotees present introduced him to their master. In great bliss, Hridayananda observed the lad's beautiful spiritualized form. He ordered his servants to bring the young renunciant to him, and he happily concluded that Shamananda was the person who would distribute love of Krishna. He asked him, whose servant are you? What is your name? Why have you come here? Shamananda answered, my name is Dukhi Krishna Das. I am your servant life after life. Hearing this, Hridayananda became extremely happy and initiated him, giving him the name Shamananda. He instructed him in devotional service and then said, please hear my order. Go to Utkala immediately and make Vaishnavas in every single home. A companion equal to yourself has appeared there. Take him with you and bestow the gift of devotional service to all the living beings. Bless them with the 16 syllables of the Hare Krishna mantra and preach about pure love of God according to the gospel of Sri Chaitanya. In this way, deliver everyone in the land of Utkala. Hearing this, Shamananda felt embarrassed and begged to be empowered to fulfill this order. He also requested that he be allowed to go for pilgrimage. After staying with Hridayananda for a while, he bid him farewell and commenced his travels. Please hear an account of his pilgrimage, for it bestows treasure of love of Krishna to all. So, I'll end there. But please hear an account of his pilgrimage, for it bestows treasure of love of Krishna upon all. So, when you can. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Yesterday was also Balaram Rasa Yatra.